Well, how y'all doing today? We're going to take a look at my 2000 Reborn Free, get it? 24RB. Let's see what we got. We've been doing quite a bit of work on this over the last year, and off and on we've had the opportunity to work on it, and then we've ended up just having to sit and not do anything for a couple months. But we're now back on the project, and this last couple weeks we've made a tremendous amount of progress, which we've been posting on the Facebook page, and we just want to show you a little more. Important disclaimer. If you were an employee of Born Free Motor Coach, you need to read this message. My motor coach was subjected to neglect and horrible conditions. While I'll be showing off the failures of this particular unit, I in no way, shape, or form want you to feel as though I am bashing you or Born Free. I know that you are great people. You built and engineered these with the best materials you had, and the quality of your builds are loved the world over. You should be very proud to have been a part of it. This unit has spent the past 23 years decaying from use and neglect. And unfortunately, the failures shown here are simply from aging process or a lack of knowing how they would react to how this particular unit was used. While I will point out some things that I may not like, they are my own opinions and not reflective of the brand or employees personally. So please know that you're loved and appreciated. About a year and a half ago, my wife inherited this unit, and when her father passed away, he used it for about 15 years. He traveled all across the country. It's got low miles on it, and the engine and transmission are really good. Unfortunately, the interior was not. While it's unfortunate that we had to rip everything out, it's been a really good experience, and we found things that were definitely a major problem, especially on a health risk level for mold and contaminants. This front section of the RV has been our biggest problem. When we first got it, it had a board that went all the way across. It had a cardboard liner, a carpet liner, and then also a 4-inch mattress, and about 8 sleeping bags and 4 pillows that were completely soaked. The culprit of this water intrusion was 2 things. Up here is where you have the marker lights, and they're screwed right into the fiberglass. There's no backing on them. So when water gets in, either through the lens cap, or maybe the lens has come off, or maybe it's just loose, whatever the case may be, it can enter directly into the ceiling and onto whatever's up here. The second part that we had problems with is with this window, which a few people have already told me this window's not designed to be at the angle it's at. It's unfortunate that that was used, because it really has caused problems in a lot of people's RVs. They've had to be resealed, but there's 2 different problems. It's not just the outer seal that leaks, but it's this inner seal that goes from the window to the frame. That's where you find most of the problems. This section right here, where you see a couple black spots, I'm going to call them spots too, leave it in that video. Okay, where those spots are is where everything surrounding it was black. From here all the way over, this was all black mold. And we had to scrub, clean, bleach, pretty much everything. The problem is that this piece of wood right here that you see is infused with the fiberglass from the outside. So what comes up above your windshield is actually infused with this piece of wood. Luckily, it is sealed underneath. There's no mold that we could find underneath, but on the top and around the whole front, it was really bad. Now, you're also saying that there's a black
that the fiberglass on the inside is black. Well, that's painted that way. So luckily that's not mold, but the mold that we did have was extensive and it smelled bad and it caused a lot of problems. Part of our issue was the window to the frame. So water can get underneath the outside layer and then it runs down and drips down either here or it'll just come right up and over this lip and saturate all the carpet that's around it. Of course, in this project, we've had to strip everything out. And we have not yet figured out what we're going to do with this window, but we're considering about making it actually a hatch. I'll get into that a little bit later, but this window is going to have to come out eventually. It is still leaking no matter what we do. I'm going to have to do some revision to the outer frame just to seal it up a little bit more for our intended purpose until we get the hatch made. All of this here is all part of the upper deck here. And once we've exposed everything below here, we kind of saw how they did it. And this is all watertight. This is good. We're going to put an additional seal around the outside as well. But this is where my new control center is going to be. This is going to include camera monitors. It's going to include GPS, all kinds of things that are going to be really helpful to us. These are the new windows. They're made by Motion Windows, and they're emergency access or emergency egress windows is what they are. You just pull a little handle up on each side, and the window opens. Now, right now, I'm having to use my fingers to push and hold the window open, but we are going to put some kind of lift mechanism so it can extend out about that far, give us good airflow. We're going to put in a screen that we can remove or either roll down. We haven't figured it out yet, but we're working on it. The water, when it comes down from the wall to the window and down, has absolutely no way of actually getting in at this point. The biggest problem I had with the sliders, and this is what kind of killed this unit unfortunately, is that when they slid open and back, actually it was on this side, slid open and back, this seal here never really sealed for us, and it allowed water to pool, and it pooled along that surround that goes around the original windows. It pooled here and then just wet rotted everything below it. So all of this lower area had to be replaced. This is the lower area that I was mentioning, and we had to put some new support bracket or new support wood in here. All of this has been replaced because this was all rotten. Right here are the two holes for the generator. This is where the generator was hanging from the floor. No support, there's no brackets, there was nothing more than bolts going through the floor, and they dropped down about a 1/4 inch plus, and we're starting to rip out of the floor. So at 80 miles an hour, that generator could have fallen out at any time. The other thing it was doing, though, is it was creating a bow in the floor. That type of weight had separated itself from the baseboard here, which is screwed in from the top and bottom. But those screws all failed, and the floor began to sink. So we had to jack this up from the outside, level it up, put all new wood in here, screw it from the top and bottom. We also liquid nailed every one of these pieces in to create a brand new support mechanism there. Unfortunately, our leak happened in a couple different areas. This is the passenger side window, which this was completely destroyed. All of this was completely destroyed. We were able to save one piece of wood that went across here and a piece here. That was it. Everything else support-wise along the bottom, everything else was destroyed. Luckily, it did not hurt the floor, but we did have to reseal from the outside, push it back up, and resecure it. When I say that we've had to remove everything, we literally had to remove everything. That includes all of the electrical. This is all going to be cleaned up. Most of these cables don't mean anything to us anymore because we've removed everything. We no longer have a generator. We no longer have a propane tank. We no longer have water tanks, either collection or for storage. We got nothing. Everything had to come out. There was not one thing in this RV that was salvageable because it had either shifted or become disconnected in some way, or simply not usable. This is the kitchen window, and as you can see, there's water in the window. You can't see through it. It's been destroyed from the inside out, and we found water lingering in the bottom of this slide window. Once again, when this closes, it does not make a good seal here, and it gets into the bottom of the drip. Because of the angle of the wall, it doesn't leave through that little exit it's supposed to, and it instead comes inside. So at this point, we are ordering another window for this, and it will be an up and down slider.
I do have some more to go on this video, and I wanted to stop here just for a moment to explain that the next steps for this RV, beyond the design aspect, is really going to be making sure that it's functional for the next 20 years. So a lot of the changes that we're making, we're not just making because we don't like something, we don't want to do it that way, blah, 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 but because we're having to make some changes based on what we found, and we feel that the next 20 years is the most important right now for us.
So right next to that window is where the water intake is. This is your tank fill, this is your water inlet line, and this here is your outdoor shower. Now, we're repurposing this for a different setup, and this will be removed, but the door will stay. We're going to cut the back of this off because this is where we're going to actually put our water pump so that it can be serviced from the outside. If it leaks or has a problem, it's going to drain to the outside instead of possibly coming inside. Water fill, that's all going to stay because we're going to put new tanks right here on the inside. We're not going to bolt anything outside anymore. This is where your inlet came in for your 30 amp service, and this was where the ever so usable now, and I'm joking because back 24 years ago you had a phone and you had cable hookup, and I thought it was funny it was still there. It brought me some great memories, but it's gone now. So we have to patch that up. This is what this little piece of wood actually doesn't go here. But this is what it looks like on the inside. This is your gas fill. They've protected that with a wood framing, and it comes in right next to the wheel well here. Let's talk about this outer shell, fiberglass shell, because it's not attached. And after talking to someone who worked at the factory, this is what they did for a long time. It was fine. It worked out great. There's a barrier. This is a radiant barrier that was put over it. So when they built these, the frame was built. It was attached to the roll bars, and then they put the outer skin on, and this radiant barrier was part of that. But this floats. They found later that that didn't work as well. It was getting a lot of ripples. It moves quite a bit, which causes some stress. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove this radiant barrier. We're just going to cut them right out. And we're going to liquid nail foam board, insulation board, to the insides of these to create a really good, strong barrier and create a nice, efficient R factor. This is where the vent for your refrigerator came up. Below this was a refrigerator, and this had a large box surrounding it. On top of this was a vent, a plastic vent. The entire front of the vent was destroyed. Something hit it. I'm going to say a large bird, probably a huge branch. They just removed the entire front of it, which allowed water to come in at any time, especially at 80 miles an hour when it's raining, and it just destroyed the back of this. So what we ended up doing with this, and all the vent holes, because we're changing everything, so all the vent holes, all the plumbing, everything had to come out. So we used this material here. This is an 1/8 inch. It's got aluminum on each side of a PVC core. It's actually sign material, but it's extremely strong. It's structural. And we took liquid nail, we put it all the way around, and then we screwed it up to the ceiling. And then on top of that, on the very top of the roof, we filled in that hole with a piece of 3/4 inch ply surrounded by liquid nail, and then we topped it off with another layer of liquid nail to seal it in. That hardened really well, and we are going to put an elastomeric over the back of the RV. And this is where the shower vent was. In our case, it was destroyed. I'm going to say everything was destroyed, but honestly, it was rusted out. You couldn't push it up anymore. It leaked like a sieve. We found all kinds of mold underneath that and down the wall. We had to replace some wood as well. But that is where the shower was. And then also it was where a couple of the other vents were. And we just needed to close it up. We did it. We're at the back door here. And this was all behind the refrigerator as well. You can see that radiant barrier right here. Well, it's pretty well useless. It is dry, rotten. It is wore out from the inside. You can see there's been a lot of water damage. There was mold. We were able to clean most of that off, but like I said, we're removing it all. And if you've gotten this far into the video, I'm going to show you our air conditioner, which is going to have to be replaced. The worst part of it is during our move, somebody threw away the cover for it. We moved 2 days after Hurricane Ian. It got thrown away. Hey, if anyone's got one of those right now, until I replace this thing, I could use one. If not, I'm going to have to build something. This is our new back window from Motion Windows. This has a screen that comes up and down. And then the window itself also slides up and down, which is extremely handy. Before, this was a solid window. It had no breezeway through here at all. And it just didn't work for us. We couldn't see through it anymore. It was all fogged up. And the little magnifying thing really just didn't work for us. And so we had them make this the same size. And I'm so thrilled with this. We just put this in last week, and it makes a huge difference. Now, we're going to change our sleeping areas around, and this is going to be one of our primary windows to a sleeping area, which is going to be fantastic. Not so great for other campers because we snore like the dickens, but you know, hey, it is what it is. So anyway, this just releases from here, comes down, locks into place, easy to clean, perfect. Thank you, Motion Windows.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, so did you get your snack? I got mine. Gatorade. Ha ha. Okay, so that's what we dealt with on the inside. And I could show you a little more, but that's pretty much it. Let's move on to the outside now that we've gotten our snack. And let's see what we've got to do there.
So we had a vent back here for the hot water heater. It was not needed anymore. We didn't have a need for another piece. So once again, I used that sign material that's aluminum, PVC core and aluminum. And we put it here with caulking all the way around it. It's sealed up. We'll put another piece of wood on the inside to make sure that it shores up real nice and we won't have to worry about that one. This is going to stay. This is going to stay. They'll each have their purpose, and there will be storage underneath it. Our back bumper is completely exposed because the fiberglass was all rotten around it. But originally, this hole for the hitch here was way back here. This was all rusted out, so I had a friend of mine buy a new piece to add to it, which had the right hole length for the regular hitch. And this was all welded into place, fixed, and secured better. Nothing's really changing from this side, but we no longer have propane service because that tank failed. And there really won't be any storage here that we're aware of that'll have any real depth to it, but we're hoping to maybe get about a 6-inch storage space underneath this, which would be kind of nice. All these graphics have to come off, and I got some holes to fill, and I've got some track to replace down here. So unfortunately, during a trip to Mexico, one of the drivers that was driving this with my father-in-law, hit something, and of course it crunched the fiberglass here and completely opened it here, tore apart the trim work there, and this destroyed all the wood underneath it. This below was also done at the same time. Whatever they hit, it was substantial. That's going to have to be refiberglassed now. And I do have a very large opening where the batteries were and where the generator was. I'm going to have to figure out an access door for this, which is going to be a pretty big challenge. But we'll figure it out. Yeah, why not?
I need to explain something about that last video cut. I was showing you the sides of that, and in the process I tripped on a log and fell on my fat butt, so I got back up and just finished that part of the video. But it was hilarious. I wish I had gotten it on camera, but I didn't. What I didn't mention about that is those holes that were put in the side panels from that whatever they hit were not that big, but what it did is it frayed all of the fiberglass, so I had to sand that all out, make sure there was no extra strands that were just going astray. So that was all sanded out, and then I took that side material, put liquid nail behind it, screwed it from the outside so it would draw it towards the back of it. And what I'll need to do next is take those screws out, sand it all over again, and refiberglass those corners. You'll never see it.
So the fuel door
but
is going to have to stay the same, because I'm not messing with that. But it will be cleaned up. I'm going to put new rubber all the way around it so it seals quite nicely, and we'll get some of the caulking all cleaned up there. This is where that phone line and cable insert was. This was a light that's going to be replaced, and this is our input for our electricity. Now our 30 amp, if you look in there, that wood is all destroyed. I can pick at it with my fingers and just, it'll fall apart on you. So that's going to come out, and I probably won't replace it there. I'm probably going to move it a little bit more forward because I'm moving my electrical service more towards the front. This is that outside shower, which is where the pump, water pump, is actually going to be accessible. And this one I can't open because I don't have the key on me, but that's your portable water flush and drain, which I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with that yet. It'll probably stay as the fill because there's going to be a tank.
Okay, so this is the footage that I have for you. We're going to continue with this project. It is about 7:58, about a half hour. I got someone coming over, and they're going to scrape that floor for me, get some more of that linoleum up. There's just so much to do, and we're going to continue showing you the entire process. The most exciting thing is the design work, which is coming up next. That's going to be my next video. Stay tuned for it. Hit subscribe. That'll get you to our next video, and look forward to seeing you. I want to do a shout out for two things. The biggest resources that I have, those are going to be on the next slide as you go out. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.